he was diagnosed unexpectedly, as for so many people, with ALS. Now, ALS is a really interesting diagnostic process where, because he was so young at the time, he was in his mid-50s, it is traditionally one of the tests that most people in the medical community want to delay doing because nobody wants to return that diagnosis to somebody with it because it's terminal for most people. The rare exceptions are the Stephen Hawkings, and a lot of times I think those folks are, in large part, you're keeping them alive because there's so much wisdom inside of Stephen Hawking's head. We want to try to selfishly extract as much as humanly possible from him. And John, upon receiving his diagnosis, it was, as reacted as so many people would expect. He got angry, he got upset, he, was wondering and negotiating with God what he did to deserve such a fate. And then he did something really remarkable. He made a decision. And the decision he made was that his diagnosis of ALS was not a curse, but a gift that he'd been given. And the gift was to raise awareness about ALS, to inspire others with terminal illness to live with dignity. And that was became his mission for the remainder of his life. And the way he was able to support that mission was in large part because he got connected with Hospice of Santa Barbara, and because the incredible patient care services led by Tiana and Penny and all the rest were surrounding him constantly, helping him get to his medical appointments, helping him schedule and calendar things, helping him run the day-to-day things, helping him find different care. And as he started to lose the physical ability to do things, you and I just sat down in this nice cozy place. We were able to use our hands to pick up and put these headphones on. At this time, John could not use his arms. He could not use his hands. He needed somebody to help him get dressed. He needed somebody to help him eat. He needed somebody to help bathe him. He needed somebody to help him go to the bathroom. And that was a large part what Hospice of Santa Barbara did. It's interesting because when people hear the H word, they hear hospice, they commonly associate it with death and dying. But what my experience was with it, by going through this whole journey with John, is what the incredible work that the people of Hospice of Santa Barbara do is very much about life and living. And they were such an integral part of his life that John lived those last couple of years of his life so fully and so completely that I have it on camera. One of the proudest things I've ever done in my life. 6 months before he passes, because John and I did this conversational series where we kind of record his whole journey. 6 months before he passes, he's sitting there, and he's from Texas. So he's got that Texas drawl, but as most Texans are, great storytellers. And he looks at the camera and he's kind of winding up and giving the crescendo of a story. And he says, who'd have thunk it, these last 2 years of my life living with ALS have been some of the happiest, if not the happiest years of my life. Passed away 6 months after that. But he said it with such congruency. It wasn't just lip service, right? It was the real, honest to God, from the heart truth. And that was in large part possible with Hospice of Santa Barbara and the support they gave him. And what was really incredible about that, and I don't think this gets recognized enough, because they were there with him so much, and because they took care of so much of the day-to-day stuff, and because they were so open with talking with his friends and family and educating all of us, not only did it help him live those last 2 years of his life as fulfilling and as completely as possible, it helped all the people who were around him love on him more, enjoy the time with him more. And it was absolutely incredible. You had this group of men. So I was kind of a newer friend, right? And these guys were all 20 plus years younger than me. And they've all been friends forever. They're all kind of the men's men, big boys don't cry kind of crap. And these guys were loving on each other, letting each other know how much they loved, talking about how meaningful this time was. And so it helped them all work through and heal through a loss that they were actively experiencing at the time, which was quite incredible because when John died, everybody, of course, was sad. But everybody also had this almost sense of completeness and how fully he lived that last year or last couple of years, and how much they were able to share in that year, and how they were all able to be better friends to him than they were before because there was such a different depth, right? You have these guys who are intimately feeding their friend who they used to go and get in fights with and pick up girls at the bars with, and now they're having to spoon feed him. But that was okay, and it was normalized. And again, I think largely because of the support they got from Hospice of Santa Barbara. Before John passed, he had asked me to do what I could to help this organization going forward. And that has been kind of my, so I continue to try to do that in ways that I can. It's an incredible organization, just absolutely saintly people who work here, who volunteer here, and they do this work so selflessly, and it is work that I don't think most of us never fully emotionally appreciate the depth of impact it has, because death is such a personal thing. It's such an intimate thing. We all address it, deal with it differently. Some of us don't have the vocabulary to talk about it. And if we do, it comes out in more colorful language, and we kind of edit that out. But I just have such a deep gratitude for this organization. I have such a deep love for the people who are part of the organization. And I think they're just absolutely wonderful, wonderful humans. And I appreciate you giving me a time to share that.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So you've been working with hospice now, I'm sorry, tell me again, for how long?
Yes.
Since John's passing?
John passed in June of 2017. And I think I started volunteering just shortly after that. Every year, my kind of role is I am part of the planning committee for the Heroes of Hospice event every year. Mm-hmm. And then I think 2017, 2018. 2017, I talked about John. 2018, I talked about Lois, and I helped with the paddle raise piece of it. And then last year, they gave me the microphone the whole time and let me MC it, which I was really curious if they were going to actually let that happen, but they did.
You did a fabulous job, by the way. I was there. That's why you look so familiar.
Yeah, it was wonderful being there last year, because were you at the Hilton the year before that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, the heat and the sun.
Yeah.
I was... My perspective, I'm sweating like crazy up on the stage, and I just did I introduced the speakers last year, and then did the paddle raise, and I was sitting there watching people in the audience do this, almost pass out. So last year was a welcome, and I'm glad that they're doing it again there this year. Mm-hmm. My only grievance with last year is by the time I finally got out of there and got outside and was ready to hang out with everybody, it was just a hair after 2:00, and they shut the damn bar down. And they would not budge. 30 seconds after, would not budge.
Flask.
That is a really smart thing.
I think a flask this year.
I think you're absolutely right, especially for the 50th.
Okay, 2 flasks. Yeah. Wear your boots. Boot flask.
I think that's a great idea.
Jesse, I think it's absolutely amazing that after John's passing, you dedicated to him that you would be here to support this organization going forward, and that for all these years you have, and now that you're such a, integral part of this organization, that speaks really highly. And hospice has touched me in my life, so thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
For being a volunteer here and continuing to support such an incredible organization full of earth angels, for sure.
It is. I think one of the greatest honors that is bestowed upon those of us who are the called the custodians of the legacy of those who have left us behind, if you will, is to live our life in a meaningful way that honors them. And every time I'm here, every time I can be a part of it, it's funny. I can still, it helps me see John a little bit more. It helps me hear him a little bit more. And I'll share this last little thing with him. John was reluctant to get on camera and talk initially, which is funny because he's a storyteller. He loves attention. And I remember there was a moment when you could tell things had changed. I took him to Costco. My back had gone out. John could still grip with his fingers at that point, and he didn't care about lifting things properly because he's all, my whole body's going to hell anyways. What does it matter? So between the two of us, we could get this package of 24 or 36 water bottles at Costco, whatever it was. And I'll never forget, we get in line, and it might have helped too that the girl at the checkout was cute. But John's up there and he starts to tell her, "Oh, we're filming a documentary. Oh, yeah, I have ALS, so I'm dying. And you should check us out on YouTube. People from all over are watching it." And I look at him and somebody all of a sudden.
Now we're filming a documentary.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But so all those things, even right now, I haven't thought about that for a while, but just sharing it with you, it's fun. And it reminds me of how special of a human he was and how special of a presence he still is.
As evidenced by you sitting here telling a story about him and keeping him alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse.
You're very welcome.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think that we should have in the gift bags, per your suggestion at the Heroes event this year, is Flask. Charles, put that in the budget.
I was just going to say, don't tell Charles.
Put it in the budget.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're very welcome. Thank you.